Guys, Coach Abby, UEFA-B from Germany, UEFA-C from Scotland, performance analyst, coach first teams, coach academy teams, and you know where it is going. And in this video, I will tell you exactly how top coaches design training session plans. Guys, please like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you after the music.
Okay, so the first thing is that you should be in sync with the club's philosophy and your own style of play. And the second thing is where you are in the week. So I will definitely talk about periodization and game model in some other videos, but for this particular video, let's say I'm planning for match day -4. So if the game is on Sunday, so this session would be a perfect fit for Wednesday, because MD plus one would be match day plus one would be recovery, and MD plus two would still about light work. So MD plus MD -4 is the first day where I can actually increase the intensity again. So what that means? That means I would need for this particular day or this particular training session, I would need small areas, small numbers, lots of short and sharp actions, physical contacts, and high repetition. And so basically it means that we are still focusing on technical, but slight touch of tactical. So it won't be like a full tactical session we would do mostly on Saturdays, MD -1, but it should be technical plus tactical. Second, of course, you know who you are coaching, your age group. So of course you have to take that into the consideration as well. Okay, so the next thing is phase of play. So once that's clear, we have to decide what phase of play we want to train at. Okay, so for this session, the phase is defensive because we are still working on pressing. But this alone is still too general. Okay, so we have to narrow it down. So after the phase of play, we have to decide the sub phase of play. That is where we have to add the context. Okay, so the sub phase could be the attacking third. So because high pressing, because we are still focusing on pressing, so it could be attacking third, it could be high pressing. So now after this, I know where the actions will happen, what distances I need, what kind of intensity the session will demand. Okay, so after once I define all these things, then comes the next part, and which is principles, which means what we want to see. So for this particular session, it could be forcing the play wide, protecting central lanes, winning the ball in the attacking third, or what would you do after winning the ball? Attack quickly after the regain. Okay, let's this is just for an example. Okay, so next, after I decide the principles, I now then decide the sub principles, which means how we do it. So in this case, it could be nearest player presses, pressing on an angle, or accelerate, then de-accelerate. Side on low body position, don't dive in, and so on and so forth. Teammates cover and balance, and so on and so forth. Okay. After we have defined the sub principles, now we know how we are going to do it. Okay, so then we have to define the individual player responsibilities, like who presses first, who blocks the pass, who balances inside, who balances behind, who steps the line up, and so on and so forth. Okay, so players, remember, players don't need complex tactics; they need clear references and simple decisions. Okay, and then you have to integrate the analysis part as well. To, okay, and then after it, do not forget to think connect all these things with the next phase of play. That means in this case it would be what happens when you win the ball. So we would be in the attacking transition phase. So remember to think about those things as well, connecting the phases as well. We will definitely talk about game model and periodization in some other videos.
Okay, so now the thinking is clear. Okay, so let me show you how this whole logic turns into the actual training activities, how top coaches turn this logic to the actual training session plans. You see, okay, so there are multiple ways. First is the traditional part. Okay, so you could always start with the drill, then you shift to a game related practice, and then you end with a conditioned game or a small sided game. Or you could you could use the whole model or the app model. So in the for this particular video I'm going to use app model. Okay, so where A stands for activation, first P stands for play, second P stands for practice, and the last P stands for practice again, play again. So we always start with the warm up plus the activation part. Okay, so for this particular warm up, make sure you could do the dynamic warm up as well, but I like to start the warm up with a little fun game for 10-12 minutes, and then I switch to the small sided game. So you could add different type of rules here. For example, the yellows have the ball, reds have to tag it, yellows could dribble the ball with their hands, or you yellows could play basketball dribbling, and reds have to tag it, or you can add any type of rule that relates to that particular topic. One thing is that in between the switches you can add some dynamic stretching as well. So that's how it works, the activation part. Okay, for 10 to 12 minutes I do this, and then I switch to the actual small sided game. Okay, so this small sided game is an absolute pressing machine, and let me show you how. This is a 4v4 plus 2 neutral game, and the pitch is divided into two white channels and one central zone with two halves in it. So here are some of the rules. So if you win the ball in the opponent half and score, you you get two goals. You can score in any of the three goals, two mini goals plus one medium sized goals. And the offside rule applies. Because we are focusing on the zonal marking, so the offside rule makes sense. Third, neutrals are limited to two touches and they can be tackled. Okay. Fourth, all restarts from the GK. So if you score the goal, your GK will start the game. You if the ball goes out of bound, the other GK will start. Okay, so always think about the rules that make sense, that are game realistic. Okay, so you can add, of course, you can add different type of rules as well, but make sure they all are game realistic. So now comes the exercise part, the practice part. So for this particular exercise, if you include the GK, it's basically 5v5. So in this particular exercise, reds are scoring in any of the three mini goals. Yellows, if they win the ball, they score in the big goal. Okay, so one interesting thing about this exercise is we have a defensive neutral. That means this defensive neutral it will always play with the defensive with the defensive team. Okay, so now this way, because of course we have 20 players for this particular session, so I'm going to use the same exercise for the other 10 players on a different pitch. So basically it's 5v5. Okay, so now how do you progress it? Because for the progression part, make sure it becomes difficult for your team, so in this case the defending team. So one way is you can increase the area size. Another way for this particular thing is you can turn a defensive neutral to a in possession neutral. Okay, so think about all the realistic ways to make it to progress a particular exercise. Okay. Okay, so we're going to end the session with a small sided game. So for this particular small sided game, one of the ways to score is complete five passes, or score dribble or pass through the white channel in the center, so that the pressing team now have to protect the central channel as well. Third, you score directly. So there are multiple ways. Again, the offside rule, of course, makes sense. And how would you increase the repetitions? One way, all restarts from the GK. Okay, just as in the first small sided game we did. So that is how, think about the rules that are game realistic. There could be multiple rules. Okay, so this is how, make sure you end it with the cool down as well. And this is how all top coaches in the world think and create a particular session. So make sure
Everything is realistic.
Now you know how top coaches design training session plans, and it's just not about copying drills. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Until then, tata, bye bye.